Hello, this is Patrick Ash, and today we are going to discuss goal setting. This is a build-up and a follow-up to the presentation we did last time on what it takes to complete a triathlon or really any endurance sport, some of the characteristics that are required for that. So today we're going to frame goal setting in a sense of what characteristics do you need, what things are important, what kind of skills, what kind of properties do you want to have and to put into place in order for you to be as successful as possible as you work towards identifying your dream goal and then putting the steps into place to make that dream happen. Now, in this particular presentation, as I reviewed last time, this is number 2 in a series. So the first one we talked about, as I said, was what it takes. We're going to review goal setting today. In January, we're going to talk about how to train, how to fit it all in. February, we'll talk about all things swim, bike, and run. March will be about health versus fitness, how to ensure that you're being healthy as you strive towards this fitness and performance goal that you have. April, as we start to get into our outdoor season, we will talk a little bit about nutrition for particular training and events. And in May, we'll talk about event day planning as you gear up to get into race season. Now, I called this goal setting, but really what we're talking about is developing a checklist for you. A list that helps you identify what are the most important things for you to do to achieve your endurance goal. So I refer to it as goal setting, but I cross that out. And what we're really talking about is we're talking about the concepts of improvement. We're talking about the concept of growth, and we're talking about ultimately achieving results. So we're going to create, like I said, this checklist that's going to help you develop the time and energy that you need in order to achieve the goal that you want. So what we'll cover in this session, number 1, we're going to talk about your why. We reviewed it last time, but it's important that we go over it again, because knowing why this goal that you've identified, this event that you want to accomplish, really understanding why it's a priority is super important. Number 2, we're going to talk about understanding your time. What I mean by that specifically is understanding what available time do you actually have when you consider all your non-negotiable time priorities that you have in your day. How much time do you actually have to prepare and train for an endurance event? We're going to evaluate that. The next thing is we're going to talk about understanding what needs to be done in terms of the distance of the event that you're preparing for. Number 4, how to say no to certain things in your life in order to make time to say yes to your better self. Number 5, we're going to talk about being ready for peaks and valleys in this journey to your goal, because it's never a straight line. There's always some peaks and valleys in there. And number 6, the 1% rule, how to evaluate your progress and your results. So before we get started here, there's a little Word document that I put in the comments. We'll also send it out as part of the presentation as well, but you want to open up that document. It's just a notes page that takes you through the 6 different parts that we'll discuss today. So you want to make sure that you have that handy. Okay, and you can have a pen handy too, so you can fill out that document as we go along here. All right, so number 1, let's talk about this first. We need to identify your why. And what I mean by your why is the biggest reason for making the commitment to sign up and complete this particular event that you have in your mind. Even if you don't have an event yet, that's okay. Just think about one. Maybe it's a dream goal that you have. you can put that down. But really what we're trying to understand is, why does this goal matter to you? Why accomplishing this certain thing, crossing that finish line, why is it important to you? And more importantly, how will this commitment make your life better? So something to really think about there is, how do you want this commitment to make your life better? Because once you know those two things, why it matters to you and how you think it'll make your life better, is it'll actually enhance your enjoyment of the journey, because you'll have a really good sense of the importance of getting up in the morning, the importance of going to those sessions, the importance of doing it day after day after day. It'll help with your commitment. Now, the first question we always want to ask is, why do you want to do this blank triathlon? Maybe it's a tri or super sprint, or maybe you have a sprint distance in mind, or a certain standard distance, or a 70.3 or half Ironman or an Ironman distance, whatever the case is. Why do you want to do that particular triathlon? So you want to ask yourself that question. And how I want you to do this 5 whys question is, practice is the first thing that comes to your mind. Just jot that down really quick. You don't have to write a novel for each question. Just quick 1-sentence answer to why you want to do this particular triathlon. So for me, I have a particular event in mind. The first thing that came to my mind is, I want to challenge myself. So then we go to question 2. Why do I want to challenge myself? Well, I want to get fitter and stronger. So there's my example. You write down yours. Question number 3. Why do I want to get fitter and stronger? Okay. Well, my answer to that is, when I'm fitter and stronger, I feel better about myself. Okay. So there's a self-confidence aspect to it. You can probably guess what question 4 is going to be. Why do I want to feel better about myself? When I feel better about myself, I'm more assertive and I'm more confident. Okay, so whatever your answer number 4 is, you want to write that down. And then lastly here, why do I want to be a more assertive and confident? When I'm more assertive and confident, I feel in control, I make better decisions, and I get what I want out of life. So you see, that's a much more detailed, in-depth answer, more meaningful answer versus, I want to challenge myself. And that deeper meaning to this purpose will provide an immense amount of motivation, also clarity as to why do you want to complete this particular journey. So that's why this 5 whys practice is super important. And any goal that you have in life, I encourage you to do this 5 whys to really get a good understanding as to why you want to do it and how this will make your life better. So digging into this a little bit more, if you had a little bit of trouble of kind of getting through those 5 questions, putting it in context, for me, I said, I want to complete, the event that came to my mind was a beast Spartan race. So that was the event that came to mind for me. Now, this is a vehicle to achieve and I put my why, my feeling of being confident and competent, being assertive, and being able to make decisions that serve my life, to make me more confident to make those decisions. So that's my why. Now for you, there could be other reasons. You could, could be, something you want to do for some friends of yours, maybe a health reason. A lot of times we're in this sport for health reasons, but maybe there's a career reason as well, a spiritual reason of some sort. Maybe there's some family reason why you're participating in this sport. You want to be a better person for your kids or your spouse or your partner or whoever it is. Or there may be some other completely different reason, and that's fine too. But getting down to why that's important to you becomes really, really important, and can, again, provide that deep meaning that will really help you through this process. Okay, now we're on to number 2. So we've identified our why, we're clear on our purpose, we understand how making this commitment will make our life better. Now it's time to get real with what is our available time to prepare for this event. And what I do is I go through this time audit, okay? And what this time audit is it identifies your non-negotiable priorities. What your non-negotiable priorities are the things that you have to do every day that require your time. So I have this little chart here, and you see on the left side column, there is 9 different things there. So you have meals, work, family, sleep, social, transport, and then there's a total column there. And then you'll have at the end of that what your available time is. And I have Monday to Friday, and I have Saturday and Sunday, because this is an example for me because my Monday and Fridays are pretty similar as far as time commitments. Saturday and Sundays, again, pretty similar. Yours may be different, and that's okay. So in the handout that I gave you, I actually break it down day by day. So there's a column for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there's a column for Saturday and Sunday. So you can take that and actually write in your own. If they're the same Monday to Friday and the same Saturday and Sunday, that's fine. The other thing that's important here is available training time must include traveling to training venues. A lot of people don't consider that when they're putting together their training time. They don't consider the time it takes to, say, if they're swimming, traveling to the pool and back. Say if they go to a gym to do some strength work, or they have a particular class that they go to, or maybe they do some running session at the track and then they have to travel to and from the track. That's time. So you have to consider that when you're putting that into your available training time. Now, in putting this in context, we're going to walk through that chart a little more closely in a second, but when you're picking your distance based on your strong understanding and your clear understanding of your available time to prepare, is important to be able to show up to the race confident and ready and be able to enjoy the journey from start to finish. If you sign up for an event that requires, or even buy a plan, there's tons of plans out there on the interwebs that you can buy. But the challenge with those types of plans are they don't consider your life circumstances. So if you pick a plan that, say, at some points requires you to train, 12 or 15 hours a week, and you only have 8 to 10 hours of available training time a week, that's going to be a stretch, and that's actually going to make that journey stressful for you and not enjoyable. So either one of two things is going to happen. You're going to not complete the plan and not be as prepared as you should be, or you're going to have to cut out a bunch of things in your life that maybe are things that are important to you or enjoyable, or that provide a lot of value to you. So you have to make some decisions for sure. So just to think about that. Now, what I want you to do is bring out your part 2 in that handout I gave you, in your variable time to train. If you don't have that, that's okay. You can even just quickly jot that down on a sheet. So if you have an open sheet there, just have that handy with a pen or a pencil, and you can fill in your own little quick calendar or time availability. So like I said, what is your realistic daily available time to train? It's important to consider all life commitments outside of training that are non-negotiable. So your work, your family time, any social stuff you have to do on a weekly basis, volunteer work, whatever stuff is non-negotiable, you have to do that. So whatever's left over, after you sleep in a 24-hour period, that's going to be your available training time. So what I want you to look at it is, when you look at that schedule, is that a 10 out of 10 schedule? And what I mean by that is, if you were to look at that schedule and complete it, you would be able to say, yeah, I can do this with 10 out of 10 confidence. Definitely. It's definitely manageable given all my commitments that I have. This schedule will work for me. That's where you want to start. So when you're building a schedule for yourself and deciding what kind of commitment you can make, start with your 10 out of 10 time availability. That's what you want to work with. And the last little question here I have at the bottom is, does your family support your commitment? This is crucial. Because if your family doesn't support your commitment, that's going to be a problem. So it's important to know that your family will support you and is on your team to help you complete this goal that's so important to you. All right. So now let's get into it. So let's fill out your time available to train chart. So your time available to train, what we're looking at here is identifying your non-negotiable priorities. Okay. You may have extra columns in here of other things that are important. Okay. So could be other things that you want to add into here. Whatever they are, that's fine. You can add them in. Sometimes I'll put those in like a social component, or sometimes it's in a family, or whatever the case may be. So you can add those in as needed. So this is an example of mine. Like I said, my Monday and Friday are pretty similar. So for example, I have 2 hours for meals per day. I work 8 hours per day. Family, 3 hours per day that I'm committed to do specific things with them. Sleep, 7.5 hours a day. Social, 1 hour a day. And then transport, usually around 30 minutes a day. I don't travel too much during the day, during the week. And then total, that gives me 22 hours. So that leaves me with 2 hours of available training time, or during the week, 10 hours per week. Okay, Monday to Friday period. All right. Then Saturday and Sunday, okay, I have 2 hours of meals again. I work for 3 hours. I do some coaching on the weekend. Family, 5 hours. And then sleep, 7.5, still the same. Social, 2 hours. Transport, 1 hour. And then that leaves me with a total of 20.5 hours. So on Saturday and Sunday, I have an extra 3.5 hours there. So a total of 7 hours between Saturday and Sunday. So my total for the week is 17 hours. Okay. So that gives me, that's in an ideal world that this schedule works out perfectly. Again, if your available training time is 17 hours, you don't want to pick a plan that's 17 hours. You want to pick a plan that takes into consideration what you're currently doing for training. So you want to start in around that area, but also considering on a conservative level, what would be a reasonable amount to train that allows me to do everything I need to do from a non-negotiable priority time, and leave me a little bit left over for flex time. So because I have 17 hours, I might be training, let's say right now, if I think about it, probably maybe 8 to 9 hours a week, I would say. So that therefore, that leaves me a lot of room to work with, and that's a comfortable 10 out of 10 place for me to be. I can manage that. So just consider that when you're putting your program together. You have to take into consideration where your training as far volume is right now, and then your available training time with some room for flexibility. All right, how do you pick the right distance for you? Again, we talked about this last presentation. This will give you an idea. Give yourself a comfortable amount of time to prepare for the event. So for example, in a sprint, you'll need about 3 to 4 months, 4 to 5 hours a week a standard 6 months, you need 5 to 7 hours per week. Half Ironman, 70.3, you need about 9 months, 8 to 11 hours per week. And Ironman, 12 months, 10 to 14 hours a week. Now, this is general, okay? But it can it can go and ebb and flow. It might be less at sometimes. Maybe it might be more at sometimes as you say you're getting closer to that event. But generally speaking, these are average training hours, okay? So that gives you a sense of, okay, what's the commitment time-wise that I'm having to think about and consider. Now, number 4, we have to understand that there's daily sacrifices. So we've just gone through a time audit for ourselves. Where are the non-negotiable time? Now we need to think about, okay, what are the sacrifices I need to make? And what I mean by sacrifices are, if I need to maybe be a little bit more efficient with my time, if I'm going to take on this a commitment, what can I say no to in order to make time for the yes life that you want? Your yes life is that result, that improvement, that growth, those results that you want to achieve. That's what we're talking about when we say your yes life. So there's 3 things you need to do. You need to think about, and I have this in your section here, part 4, about daily sacrifices on your note sheet, so you can take a look at that. You need to identify, limit, or eliminate your time sucks. So things that take up time that you could potentially limit or eliminate. So these could be things like, if you watch a lot of streaming TV or anything like that, like sports events are huge time suck. Those type of things. You watch a lot of movies, or maybe you're on social media a lot. You watch a lot of YouTube videos or whatever. Okay, those are time sucks. So you gotta be able to say, okay, can I limit or eliminate those things? Other things might be, do you complain a lot about things and spend a lot of time complaining or focused on negative things? Those are time sucks as well. Things that you can't control, like some politics thing going on, on the other side of the world. It's important to be aware and know what's going on and support the causes that are important to you. But are you spending a lot of time maybe negatively thinking about those things? That can impact you and cause you to spend a lot of time there. Are you gossiping about people, or things again that people are doing that are out of your control? These are all ways that you can take time back. So for your purposes on the sheet, there's 3, I asked you to identify 3 time sucks that you can either limit or eliminate. So you can jot down, just write the things that come down to your mind, okay? And then I ask you the question, what is the one time suck that you can limit or eliminate right now, okay? So you can pick one of those things. And maybe, it's watching half an hour less of TV, for example. Maybe it's being on social media only a certain time during the day. That's a way to limit those things, okay? And the other important thing to understand about goal attainment is there will be peaks and valleys, okay? Achieving a goal is never a straight linear line up. There's always little dips and curves and bends and things that will come up. So take that into consideration, understand that, and know that when those things come up, those dips and valleys, it's part of the journey. And also too, it's important to understand that peaks will come, and those are things to definitely celebrate. I always say to the athletes that I work with that you need to take pride in your peaks. Like any wins that you make, no matter how big or small, are important to really celebrate. So for example, maybe you got up early in the morning to meet your friends for a ride, and normally you'll sleep in a little while longer, or and it cause you to have to ride on your own. So that was an enjoyable experience. Maybe you went into challenge yourself in a running only event, and that's something that you did. That's something to celebrate. Or you went to did an extra long ride, you're out by yourself and then you met some friends out there and you're able to ride together and have a really enjoyable experience. Or maybe you met a group somewhere and did some work together and you sort of formed a community. Those are all things to celebrate. So no matter how big or small, take pride in those peaks. Even if you got, you didn't feel like working out in the morning, you weren't motivated, but you got up and you got your session done. Maybe it wasn't your best session, there are no personal bests or anything like that, but you got up and you got it done. You made that commitment for the day. Something to celebrate for sure. So what I ask you to do is reflect on, like, how do you celebrate your progress? Okay. With who? What are you doing when you celebrate? What's important for you to accomplish in your training other than just results like speed, power, or pace? Okay. For example, this idea of just showing up and doing your best. That's a win. Enjoying being able to do it, having gratitude. Consistently completing training day after day, week after week. So maybe you're checking off boxes in your calendar to say, hey, I did it today. It's another day done. Another deposit in my fitness bank. So that's things to celebrate for sure. So on the sheet I gave you, there's 3 ways I ask you to write down that you will celebrate your wins. So you can just jot quickly, what are 3 ways that you celebrate your wins? The other part of this is there will be valleys. And it's important to understand that valleys mean challenges, difficult times when things aren't going smoothly. Maybe your schedule is disrupted. You've been taken away for work reasons or family reasons or whatever the case may be. These things will happen. So understand that they will. And you need to be ready for them. And there's a couple things that you can do to help you through this process. One is understanding who your supporters are. Who's your group? Maybe you have a group of training buddies, or you have a community that you're part of, or you have certain groups that you attend as part of your training. These can all be sources of challenges, or sources of support for you. What is your plan to keep showing up when things get difficult? Remember, we go back to knowing your why and why that's important to you. That can be a really important thing to help you through those valleys that come about. Who's in your support system that you can lean on? Do you have family? Do you have friends? What do you do to show up for yourself every day? What do you do to move that needle a little bit further along in your progress? What past challenging experiences have you overcome? These can be great to help you understand that you have the resilience to get through difficult times. And lastly, this is a mental switch, but a lot of people, when challenging times comes, it tends to, or can, spiral them into a negative thought pattern or a victim mentality where, woe is me, why is this happening to me? Things are so hard, or blaming other people for what's happening to you, whatever the case may be. Rather, what I suggest you do is challenge yourself to think about these difficult moments as opportunities to learn and improve, to get better. Challenges are teaching moments. They're there to teach you a particular thing. They're there to help create a more resilient version of yourself. That's the way to look at it. So that's something to think about as you're moving forward in your journey, that these difficult, challenging moments will come. And it's up to you to decide whether you're going to view that challenging moment as an opportunity, or you're going to become more of a victim and take on negative thought patterns or a victim mentality of blaming other people for what's happening to you. So in your sheet, I have a little section there that it says 3 ways I want to deal with the valleys are. So how would you deal with difficult times? Just jot down 3 quick strategies that you would use to deal with those difficult moments. All right, lastly, We're going to talk about progress and this idea of this 1% rule. So I have the little pyramid I talked about last time, and the pyramid had, health at the bottom as your foundation of your pyramid of performance and results. The second rung up is building your fitness. And then the third rung is making progress, i.e., that's when you start performing and seeing improvement. And then the last part of that, and really the consequence of all those things, is having fun. And so there's three ways that you can make progress. The first one is you versus you. So this idea that instead of comparing yourself to someone else, really make it your challenge to be a little bit better version of yourself each day. Number 2, set targets for your own accountability to your training. So how can you make sure that you're staying accountable and therefore consistent to your training and your preparation? And number 3, consistency is the foundational ingredient to create progress. So without consistency, we don't have progress. So you want to create an environment where you can be as consistent as possible. So let's dig into these a little further. So you versus you. So what I want you to do is think about this in terms of you comparing your training today to similar sessions you completed in the past. So what I often get my athletes to do, and we do this in, say, review meetings, is we'll look at sessions maybe that are similar that we did in this past 4 weeks, that maybe we did 4 weeks previous to that or 6 weeks previous to that. And we look at, how are we doing in comparison? And doing this little reflection practice can really help you understand how you're progressing, rather than just looking at, am I swimming, biking, running faster? Okay. Am I lifting more? Yes, that's progress for sure. But other ways is compare how you felt doing the session now versus in the past. Was your breathing more controlled? Did you have a lower perceived effort? Did it just feel easier? Is your form and technique better? Is your heart rate lower at that given effort? Pace faster for a lower effort? Is your power higher for a lower effort? Those are all great ways to understand your progress. And are you just enjoying the session more than you did in the past? That's a sign of progress. So again, progress doesn't always have to be results based, but rather, like a finishing time or, a certain power or pace or maximum power or maximum pace. It can be any sessions that are similar that you did in previous weeks before, compare them to what you're doing now. And that's a great way to always keep it about you being a better version of yourself over time. Set targets for your own accountability to your training. So one of the ways we do this is build and follow your routine. So I have my athletes use an online training calendar called Training Peaks. So that's what you see up here. And that's a handy little thing to be able to see, what they're doing. It's a communication tool for us to evaluate progress. It's a way to track their data, but also just track their feedback, how they're feeling. And it provides an accountability there. You want to have an opportunity to talk to support people like your coach, or maybe you have a support team or training partners, people that you can talk to about your progress. That's important to have and something to, have as part of your journey. And lastly, look back to look forward. Again, I mentioned this in the last one, you versus you, but remember where you started. Wherever you are in your training journey, remember when you just began and look how far you've come. It's important to reflect on that and remember how much more you know now than you did in the past. And doing that throughout your training process can really provide some good motivation and understanding about how you're improving over time. And lastly, consistency is the foundational ingredient to create progress. So when we talk about this consistency, how do you build consistency? There's really four things that are helpful. The first one is creating small manageable targets. So a small manageable target can be the particular way you design your sessions during the week. Do they fit within your 10 out of 10 schedule? So that schedule that, given your time, you can complete with 10 out of 10 confidence. That's a way to create consistency. Focus on the positive of what you accomplished. You know, if you look at this calendar up here, which is a nice thing to see, is, gee, it's all green. That's awesome. That means this person was super consistent. They hit all their sessions, which is excellent. And that can provide a source of confidence for them. Being in a community is super helpful. So, you know, having that support group, whether you attend group sessions or you're part of a virtual community, having people that are like-minded and doing similar things, and knowing that you need to show up at certain times can help keep you consistent and accountable for sure. And lastly, at the end of the week, review your progress. Look at what you did, you know, celebrate those victories, those wins, but also ask yourself, is there a way I can be 1% better? Just a little bit better some way, somehow. Maybe it's with your technique. Maybe it's with making sure that you're doing a little bit of mobility or stretching each session. That's a way that you can be a little bit better. These are, you know, it doesn't have to be a major thing. Maybe upping your water intake during the day. It can be something simple, again, that you can fit in with 10 out of 10 confidence, but that 1%, if you add it up over a year, can make a massive impact in how you feel and how you perform. So as a review today, we have 6 takeaways that we talked about. The first one was understanding your why you're doing this, why it's valuable to you, and why making this commitment is important to you. The second one is be clear on your available time to prepare. So doing that time audit and understanding your non-negotiable time priorities, so you know what is your true available training time. Number 3 is select a goal based on your available time. So you don't want to pick a goal that requires a time commitment that's outside of your available training time, because that's going to be very difficult to be successful and, to be honest, enjoy. And number 4, it's okay to say no. So what if you need to clear up some time, or you want to make, you know, some positive sacrifices for your health and your well-being that line up with your values that you identified in your why? What are some time sucks that you can start to limit or eliminate to help you get closer to that purposeful action that you want to take? And number 5, be prepared for peaks and valleys. Have your support team on hand. Know how you're going to manage those challenging times. Remember, they're opportunities. That mindset becomes really important as you move through this journey. And also celebrating your wins, being able to acknowledge all the little successes that you have, no matter how big or small. It's important to acknowledge those and celebrate them. And lastly, be 1% better to make progress. So that idea of being consistent and, you know, setting targets for your accountability and making sure that you have a community in place and have small manageable targets, that 10 out of 10 schedule, and reflecting on each week with this idea of how can I be 1% better? That can be a great way to do that. And on your sheet, I have that little section there on your note pages, 3 ways you will evaluate your progress are. So what are 3 ways that you will evaluate your progress each week? What are 3 things that you want to look at? So that's a great way to bring this all together and be able to look at your goals a little bit differently than just what you want to achieve, but digging into your reasoning behind it, your time, so that you're setting yourself up for success at the end of the day. So that's my presentation today. I want to thank you so much for attending and taking time to view this. I wish you all the best in your triathlon journey. If you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me at email patrick@endurancejourney.com, Instagram @endurancejourney, Facebook Endurance Journey, and then our website at endurancejourney.com. We do have programs, group training, and training plans, as well as we do signature one-to-one coaching as well. And we do have some spots available right now. So if you are interested, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to help you and be a great support for you to achieve your amazing endurance goals. So thank you again. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Take care.